Hey everybody, it's me, Remy, the comic book poser, and I'm here today to welcome you to Enter the Poserverse. It's Tuesday. You know what that means? It's time to talk New Comic Book Day. So to find out what books I'm real excited to pick up on tomorrow, Wednesday, what the hell day it is, COVID brain. On Wednesday, January 27th, 2021, you'll have to find out after this.
Hey, little girl, did you want to know a secret?
I got 5 on it. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Alright, so I tried something new this week, if you follow me on social media, that I'm trying to get back in the spirit of writing about books again as well, because I don't want my blog to fall by the wayside and die, so I tweeted or posted something on Instagram about everything I read. Let me know in the comments down below if you thought that was useful, or if you thought it was annoying as hell, but I hopefully broke up some monotony. But I'm really excited seeing what's coming this week. Again, this is a lighter week for me, but it's all books that I'm very excited for. And kicking off the top of the list is Daredevil number 26 from Marvel. This week, we get the tie-in of Daredevil into King in Black, so I'm wondering, A, what will happen? Like, how Null will play into the storyline. B, big deal at the end of, Daredevil 25, where we see someone new don the mantle of Daredevil, which is kind of awesome. And I guess I don't have to say someone, I can say it's Elektra, because we saw on the second printing cover of Daredevil 25 that she is the one donning the red and the double D. That sounds weird to say about her, but... And I'm ironically wearing my Daredevil hat. Thank you, Luke. Great. But I'm excited. I think Zdarsky is crushing it on this run. And, I'm excited to check out the Spider-Man book that he's on that comes out sometime soon, I think. I've also been really enjoying the Deadpool run that every week or every month that it comes out, I get real excited to talk about getting into something that Kelly Thompson I think is doing quite well at, that I really enjoyed kind of playing through the Bloodstone saga portion of the Deadpool story, and now this is also a King in Black tie-in where we see the King of Monsters versus the King and Dragons, and watching how Null has been just like tearing through everybody like a hot knife through butter. Like, Deadpool probably doesn't stand a chance. So maybe we get, more Venomized Deadpool. I don't know. I think it's going to be wild. The tone that Kelly Thompson has been writing Deadpool with, it has been just one of the best sardonic, over-the-top versions of Deadpool that I quite enjoy, and I'm really afraid that something might happen to Jeff the Landshark, but I'm also really hoping he's the hero. And I'm still trying to find that Marvel Legends toy that included Jeff the Landshark, so if you see a spot where you can hook me up, let me know how much money to throw your way, and it will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine. Coming up next from Image is the Department of Truth, number 5. I've been very excited about this book the whole time. We started to see leaks of the Black Hat and some other little clues of somebody lurking in the background. So we get I think this is either the last or the next to last book in the first arc, and we get an introduction to what is going on with kind of, I guess, another, NWO style organization. We'll figure out who exactly the Black Hat is, and hopefully what they represent or what their plans are in this. And if we gotta wait an issue for that, I'll be okay, because I think Tynian is crushing it on Department of Truth. Next up from Marvel is Excalibur 17. I'm excited to see how they bring things together in terms of trying to bridge the gap across the dimensions or the space between Britain and Otherworld Britain post Ten of Swords. I think this has been, like I say many times consistently, one of my favorite of the X-Men ongoings once I got in to understanding a little bit more about Captain Britain and the Captain Britain tradition, and then again the Otherworld versus not the Otherworld. It's been a good read. Next, Kaiju Score number 3 from Aftershock. This book is weird in a good way. A heist, kaiju show up, hilarity ensues. if you like any of these things, or you trust in the fact that Aftershock will put out fairly decent books, just the premise of this alone makes it worth the price of admission. And I like this tagline, not complicated like putting together a piece of IKEA furniture, but as in another giant monster just showed up. So we get more kaiju, and I'm excited. Next up, we get the third King in Black tie-in from Namor. We are getting to learn a lot about the different groups that kind of split apart in the ocean. We are getting a lot of good backstory into what was going on in Atlantis. So even if you're not interested in King in Black, but you are interested in coming over to the light side and learning why Namor is the one true Atlantean hero, and that, you know, I want him choking out Aquaman, then you should check out these books. Next up from Image Comics is Nailbiter Returns number 9. I've not had a bad thing to say about any of this. If you like Nailbiter, you should be reading this, because I think it does a good job at being true to the original. If you like any kind of slasher horror-y stuff, go pick up the technical 3 hardcover editions of Nailbiter on Hoopla. You can read those, I think it's 26 issues, and then get caught up on 1 through 9, because it's real good. It allows, a really wild universe that got created in Nailbiter to continue to have its way played out, and it's the best thing that I think Joshua Williamson is writing right now. That, I'm sad once he got taken off The Flash. I know there were a lot of people who were happy, but I think this is peak Williamson out of everything that he's writing at this moment. Next up is New Mutants 15. There are a lot of things going on in this one. They're training younger mutants how to combine their powers. Apparently they're fighting a spider. I don't know. For as much as I've enjoyed Excalibur, New Mutants has been the hardest one for me to swallow, but I'm gonna keep buying it because New Mutants is one of the books that kept me hooked in the comic game when I was a younger version of my current self. Alright, arguably the book that I'm the most excited about this week is from DC, which that sentence very rarely leaves my mouth. But The Other History of the DC Universe number 2 comes out. This one is going to look at the story of the tribulations of the original Teen Titans, and it's, I'm going to assume based on the first one, it's going to be a little bit of a darker dive into, telling us some stories of these characters, the kinds of things that they had to deal with, and I'm here for that. I thought the Black Lightning book was amazing, that I have now gobbled up every cover, including the coveted golden variant of that book, that I'm very excited to see this Teen Titans story. Up next from Image is Post Americana number 2. Not gonna lie, did not read the first one. That I missed out on it at my shop, both of the shops in town. So I know that I've got one sitting in a box with my guy over at Ninja Dairy Comics. So I'm waiting on that box to come in, but I'm going to keep picking up the other kinds of issues, because this sounds like my kind of book. You're dealing with post some kind of crisis. You're dealing with people, in this one they're fighting like cannibals. So I'm cool. I'm ready for that. Next up is another book that I'm super excited for this week from Boom Studios, is Something is Killing the Children number 14. In this book, we get to see Erica take on the whole monster brood as on her own, that all of her help has been incapacitated for some reason or another. In book 13, we learned a little secret about Tommy, where he believes that he is the one who willed the monsters into existence. So when we see the sentence that says he's faced with a decision that means life or death, I wonder if he's going to do something to maybe sacrifice himself to the monsters, and I'm going to wonder if Erica tries to stop him, since we've seen their kind of growing, relationship throughout the book, as he's kind of been there every step of the way because it was his friends that were slaughtered first. Next up from Mad Cave is Stargazer number 5. This book is fantastic. Not Stargazer as a title. It's a phenomenal read there. Stargazer number 5, if you've been reading this series, really starts to give a lot of clarity in terms of the contact with the external alien other, the connection that there may be between some dimensions, some questions about the role of the younger brother in all of this. That Stargazer is only a 6-issue book, and Stargazer number 5 that I read, I feel like a month ago, had me sitting at the edge of my seat, needing to know how this all resolves itself. That I think Anthony Cleveland and the team assembled for the art and everything else in this book is just hands down amazing. It was one of my top 3 picks from Mad Cave for 2020, and it's just a really, really, really solid book. That if you don't want to pick up issue number 5, wait until the trade comes out, pick that up, because more and more people need to get into this story. That it's just amazing. Next from DC is Strange Adventures number 8. I feel like it's been 2 months since I've talked about a Strange Adventures book, but I know we saw Strange have some PTSD in the last book. I don't remember. I know there were people who were mad that Mr. Terrific wasn't in book number 7 a lot, I think. So I'm excited to read it, but you can see that my memory is kind of fleeting on this book, that I'm probably going to have to sit down and reread a number of issues to get back into the swing of things. But I know that I've been on board. I just flew out of my dumb brain. Next up, from Boom Studios, is a book that I'm sad to have learned that this is the final book in the series, An Unkindness of Ravens number 5. We get to figure out finally what has happened in Waverly. We get to figure out if Wilma has power. We get to see if there are final connections to the young woman who disappeared. I'm excited to see how all of this kind of comes together. That I feel like this is a series that a lot of people have slept on, but it's a really interesting 5-issue miniseries about teenage witches and potentially confused identity in a town where there's something going on far beyond the understanding of a lot of people there. Up next from Mad Cave Studios is my Mad Cave pick of the year from 2020. It's Villainous, and in issue number 4, I'll see if I can grab the tweet to throw in here, because my buddy Cole from Comic Burrito is already all caps yelling at Stoney Williams in the same way that he all caps yelled at Jared Lahan after something heartbreaking happened in Dryfoot number 3. In Villainous 4, we start to see some tragedy befall the Shadow Order. We get to see a showdown between Tilly and some of the former good guys that she looked up to before they threw her under the bus at the end of issue number 1. This book, just like Stargazer number 5, is fantastic. This also, so if you didn't see my Mad Cave pick of the year video, it's a ridiculously well-written superhero story for someone who is writing their first scripted comic book in the industry. So again, I think you should invest in trying to find all of the floppies of 1 through 4 and then 5 when it comes out in a month. But if not, you need to pick up the trade. That I think if this is what Stoney Williams is showing that he can do in his first series, let alone the art in this book, that the artistic team here is fan-freaking-tastic, that the covers are indicative of the quality of the art everywhere else, that they're just pretty books. You feel everything, you get into the emotion, and I just gobble it up. So Villainous, like Stargazer, is one of those stories that I'm hyped for everybody to read if you haven't been already. Next up, from Boom Studios, is We Only Find Them When They're Dead number 5. There is a ongoing showdown. They have potentially awoken a god, as there has been this chase through space, and it's all gonna potentially come to a head in this one. I see it says please note the spoiler, which means I'm not clicking on that until Thursday after I've read all of these books. But I think Al Ewing has put together a fantastic story. Simone DeMeo's art in this is amazing, and very rarely will you hear me say you should buy something both physically and digitally. I'm more into the you should buy the singles and then buy the trade. But in this instance, I've seen some pages of what Simone DeMeo's art looks like in a digital context, and the extra, lighting in the device, the pixelation will do things to really make the art pop even more. And I need more things by Simone DeMeo in my life. Next up, we get Wolverine number 9. I think this might be my favorite cover ever, period. I like the idea of Wolverine's severed hand with the claws out up for auction. But he is at an underworld criminal auction in Madripoor. He is, I can't remember what he's trying to track down. That I think this is our first Wolverine book, second Wolverine book after the end of the Ten of Swords event. But we know that he's getting ready for an Omega Red face-off. Like, that's been brewing slowly but surely over these couple of books, and Ben Percy is just crushing it right now. That I think everything that Ben Percy has written in the last 6 months has been absolute gold, and I think I've got one more Ben Percy book to talk about. Last two on the list, X-Men number 17. I think this cover of Storm getting ready to go to town on something is really good, but we see people coming together to help the Shi'ar Empire. So we've got some space action going on. But we also know that Cyclops and Marvel Girl are rethinking their role after the whole Ten of Swords event, that they have both kind of walked away from the Quiet Council. And if people want them to run for, or want them on the council, then there is going to be an election in Krakoa, and I'm intrigued to see how the X-Men title will continue to twist a little bit after being the most heavily focused on Ten of Swords stuff. And then our final book from the week, also another Ben Percy book, is Year Zero. This is volume 2, number 3. I really like the cover on this, and a lot of it is because I'm compelled by the woman who is pregnant, who is living in like a mall. So you have, or not a mall, like a Sam's Club or a Costco. So you really get like a Day of the Dead with one woman in a shopping center. That's really intriguing to look at, but I like how this is building the different individual tales of survival, and I'm still hoping that we get to see some kind of connection in all of these stories of the different groups we've seen come together, and stuff like that from these AWA titles. The last thing that I want to do really quickly is highlight the Scout books that are coming out this week. Mostly because, and I've said this before, you don't see them on my pull list because I get them all in the Scout box, and it's not wanting to load right now. Like I said, I don't pull the Scout Comics issues because I get them in the monthly Scout Comics subscription box, which I hands down think is the best deal in comics right now. That for $33 a month you get like 12 bagged and boarded books, and the January box that gets sent out, you have until the 26th to order it, is chock full of number ones. So you've got Stake, a sweet kind of modern vampire tale that was supposed to, I think, come out last week, but got pushed to this week. Here's where I'll give my shout out to the Comic Burrito Boys, because they interviewed the author, who is also one of the uppy-ups at Scout Comics, and it was a pretty enjoyable interview. I'm waiting on the Kickstarted version of this coming out. It's like a secondary series of Steak Jessamy, which is related to the main character. But the artist on this book is someone who's I'm quite fond of, and it's Francesca Fantini, who, if you remember me singing their praises, they were the sole artist on issues 3 through the end of Artemis and the Assassin. Next, we've got Sweet Downfall #1. I don't know what that is, but I know it's in this upcoming Scout box. We've got Midnight Sky #7, which is my next Scout series that I'm going to dive in and get caught up on, since I've got 1 through 6. And then we get 2 books from their imprints coming out. We've got The Shepherd, which is coming out through the Black Caravan imprint, and the other book that's come out through Black Caravan that I've been real into was Phantom Starkiller. So it's really, really good. And then their next book that's out is from their Scoot imprint, is Loot #1. And the Scoot imprint is their new, YA comics, which I also think is something that's really cool. So I will eventually read and have reviews for all of those when my Scout box comes in. But like I said in my video of Best of the Year of Scout Things, I think these are one of the publishers that everybody needs to be looking out for, because they literally have all kinds of different unique stories for everyone. So what did you think? Any books coming out this week that are on your list that aren't on mine? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.
Hey, little girl, did you want to know a secret?
I got 5 on